Hey guys, Lucas from iExplore here. Today we are with Ulysses Aoki.
Hello.
A really great photographer here in Tokyo whose work I've been watching for quite a while. And we're going to walk around, we're going to do some street photography. But first, please don't forget, we do photography workshops here in Japan. So check out our website, iexplore.com. And we also have a map of Tokyo photo spots, so check that out as well. And those of you who support us on Patreon, we really appreciate that. So thank you so much. But anyway, let's get on to the video.
iExplore.
Yeah, you were just telling me that you usually come to Ginza on the weekends.
Yeah, I
But
come
not-
on the weekends,
yeah.
but I do appreciate this place in the weekdays too, because there's people with, what do you say, wearing suits, they're here more for work.
Ah, yeah, true.
So in a way, it's a little bit more truer to the location, because this is a financial, like, corporate workplace. So I like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. People think of it as this high fashion area, which it is, but all around it is like offices, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this lady in the yellow dress is cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I always really liked this building.
Me too.
There's like these rounded windows.
I see you chose a very nice camera for today.
Wasn't planned.
Wasn't planned. Yeah, wasn't planned.
No.
Yeah, this is a cool building.
Yeah.
The architecture in general is just cool.
Yeah, it's a rare color too.
There's a lady with a red shirt coming,
Yeah.
so we might get our wish. And yeah, it is a cool color. It's pink. Which is kind of unusual for a building, right?
And I might like think of how I can kind of like spice it up, maybe.
Right, putting something in the foreground.
Like, including like angles, because I'm liking this kind of angular window here.
I'm ducking back here mainly to not be in your reflection. I don't want to mess up your shot.
Yeah. Just, coming up
This
with
lady's cool with the sunglasses.
ways of making the frame interesting, because I think obviously there's no right or wrong with candid or street photography, and that's the beauty of it, but there are like cliches that
Let's keep going, maybe.
what would you say? There are obviously cliches in the industry, where it's like a good example being light beam, someone walking.
Sure,
umbrella,
yeah, totally.
So I try not to be like,
Fall into the cliches, basically.
yeah.
Or like rely on them too much.
Yeah, but that's the trick of like candid street, is that if you don't have a vision in mind, I don't think you'll ever press the shutter, because you're aiming for something, and that's what makes you press the shutter. But at the same time, if you're relying on something that's pre-existing a little bit too much, then you're repeating things that already exist.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but I try to push that boundary a little bit more and see what I can do to kind of, in a way, like give back to the photography community, and then like provide value back, not only just like rinsing and repeating what exists.
Regurgitating stuff. That's an interesting take. The way what you just said, that last part, that you want to like produce something that gives back to the community, or like I guess inspires other people, or gives something fresh.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I never think about that. I never think to myself, I just think about my work as just my work, and of course I share it and I want people to look at it, but I don't think the way you think. That's why it surprised me. That's all I want to say there. This is this very interesting outlook. I like that.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm not the Lord and Savior, but that's why I guess I try to put things out that I think are unique. Maybe not like, even if it's not refined to the point that I might want it to be. If it's like an interesting idea, then I might try to put it out and then see how people react to it.
I mean, I guess that does resonate with me, because we do a lot of workshops, right? I mean, I teach a lot of people photography, and I am always trying to give them ideas and whatnot, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So there's that, but that's like a hands-on, one-on-one, right, in the moment. But in terms of just my own photos that I put online, I never thought about it that way. But actually, I think that's a good way to think about it. I like that. I think that's good. Kind of give people ideas, inspire people. Try to add something new, right?
I think I'm very much subscribed to the David Lynchian Bible, I guess, where him, like a movie might just be like a sequence of a bunch of ideas that he has. There doesn't have to be a beautiful conclusion. There doesn't have to be an answer to the reasoning behind the scene. For him, it's more of like an idea that he had, and then the interpretation is pretty much up to the reader. And I do like that, and I think that's very fitting for photography, because photography is very low context.
Right. Yeah.
Is something that I believe in.
Meaning
Yeah.
that like each individual photo, it's just a photo. It doesn't exist as part of like a bigger narrative. That's what you mean by low
yeah,
context.
exactly. If you look into just single images, I think they're very low context.
Right.
Obviously, if you're putting together a story, then
Right.
the context becomes thicker.
Right.
But in general, four corners on reality, you'd think because photography is, initially created to be a documentary of something real, you'd think that there's more context, but I'd say not really. Like, you never know what's going on outside of
the
those
frame,
borders, right?
And then especially street photography, because it often, no matter how literal the street photography, it often kind of leans towards the abstract. Not like completely abstract, but it's like, a person and a shadow or a little bit of color, right?
Yeah.
Kind of abstract. There's like, you don't really know what's going on.
It's very abstract.
We like to say like, oh, I try to take photos with story, that have a story. But I stopped using that term because I feel like, well, do they really have a story? Like, it's a guy standing there. What's the story? But it's more like a mood or a feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, here's something kind of cool though. I just noticed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, if we
get
kind
out
of
of your way.
shoot
Sorry
through
about
there, then maybe
Nice
we
lady and umbrella coming.
yeah, maybe we can get a kind of a shadow of people in there. But it's one of those things where like as you're walking along and you see the movement, you can kind of see stuff. But when you stop and take a picture, it doesn't really come out right. Like you can barely see the people
totally
through
agree
it.
with
You know what I mean, right?
Sometimes like life is more beautiful when you see it, and it's like, there's something. I hope I can get it in a picture, but I probably can't.
So tell me more a little bit about your background. Like, how did you maybe get into photography, and like, how do you think of yourself as a photographer? Like, are you a street photographer in your own mind, or are you something different from that? Or
I consider myself a candid photographer, being that wherever I go, I take photos that are pretty much unposed. But that can mean that I go to, Hokkaido and take a landscape photo. And to me, that's a candid photo because it's not like I'm doing anything.
You're not posing the mountain, right?
Yeah, not posing the mountain. It's like, tilt to the right a little bit more. So, in a way, to me, that's all candid. But that also means that, the photos that I take might vastly be different depending on where I'm at or who I am at that moment in time.
Right.
So yeah,
let's head that way. So we stay on the side streets.
Yeah. So again, candid photographer. It's pretty much what I'd like to call myself.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
About myself, I don't know. I've always been interested in drawing and painting, but I am not that talented there. Also, I didn't grow up being like an artist. And photography was an art form that was pretty close to my life. Like I was in fashion for a very long time, still a child.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, you mentioned that to me a while back. I remember that now.
Yeah. So it's like I know the existence of what the camera is and what it can do. So that's how I got into photos. It's like, well, I can't draw, but I know what this does. I can feel that too, because like it resonates with me because I also like art, and I also was always interested in art, and I used to like draw a little bit and stuff, but I was terrible at it. Didn't put really the effort to get good at it. But then photography came along and I was like, okay, this is a way I can express myself visually, but I don't need to have skill. Yeah, no, definitely, 100%.
And then I realized actually this does take a lot of skill. You know what I mean?
Then it's like, oh my God.
Exactly.
And I should have just practiced drawing.
Yeah. Sometimes I do think like, man, if I just spend the last like 15 years learning how to draw, I could just draw the things I want instead of like waiting on street corners in like hot weather or cold weather, but whatever. So I realized there is, of course, a lot of skill into it, but at first it felt easy. And I guess that's true that's what I was telling people about street photography in general, specifically, but also if I think photography in general. It's so easy to pick up, but then it takes like a lifetime to master, just like any art form.
Yeah, so. I love that. That's one thing that I just love so much about photography is, you look at photos from like, first you look at photos from like Alex Webb or Armin Cartier-Bresson, it's like, holy hell, this is something that you can actually achieve with a camera, and then that's so surprising. It's very shocking at first. And then just the thought that like you can have this little box in your hand, and then someday if you get good enough, maybe you can take a photo like that someday. The thought of that is so empowering.
Agreed.
Inching close to that realm of greatness is a very long journey. I learned, but at the same time, it's very empowering, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do have sort of I agree with you entirely, but I also sometimes depends on my mood, I have a cynical take on that. Is it's a bit like gambling. I know, and I'm not saying that like Alex Webb just got lucky. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying for me, when I go out of the house every day, it's just like I feel like, okay, I'm gonna roll the dice today, and maybe today's the day where I produce some greatness, and then 99 out of 100 times it's not not that great. But once in a while, I do feel like it's something really amazing. So there's this kind of like anything's possible dynamic. Like if I just go out there, who knows what might happen, right? Whereas, like other art forms, that's maybe why I shied away from them. Also because I sucked at them, as I already said. But like, it's not as attractive to me to like sit at home and draw. You know what I mean? Because there's no, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and like illustrators will tell me, of course there's like serendipity that happens as you're just experimenting. But for me, it's out here. So there's this kind of like, anything is possible mentality. And then seeing the masters like Alex Webb, or for me it's Saul Leiter's my biggest inspiration, I'd say.
Yeah,
that
same here.
Fuels that fire, because it's just like, well, if those guys went out and did it, then maybe I can go out and do the same thing.
Yeah, it's the idea that maybe if I show up enough.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And it's very sporty in a way, but it's also very gambly too. As you
yeah. It's a bit of it. So you're like, we're using so many analogies, but I think they're all apt. And the other one I was going to say, it's kind of like you're going hunting, right? You might go in the woods and there's no animals, but one day you get that elk. I've never hunted before. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Elk,
but
in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, in Tokyo, right? There's the show up. If you just show up enough, it'll work out. I think that's a sentiment I've heard from a lot of great photographers.
Yeah.
And so when they say that, and I hear that from people who like achieved so much, it also motivates me too. It's just like, well, they showed up a lot, so if I just keep showing up, maybe it'll happen, right? I like this little, I don't know, the way this bus is parked here, and the people back there kind of like hiding from the sun. Do you have a checklist? Do you have a checklist of photos or like concepts that you like around Tokyo that when you go out, you were saying earlier, you gotta have something in mind.
Yeah.
Do you have like specific things, like places where like, okay, I know that like at this staircase, I know there's a composition here, but I haven't like seen the moment, but you try again and again. Do you think that way, or you're not that concrete about it?
I used to have more clear-cut visual cues, like if I see red or if I see like color matching, I'd take it. It became a little bit, I don't know, I felt that, again, I was like repeating things. It felt a little bit gimmicky to me after a while. So recently, I didn't like intentionally ditch it or anything, but I do find myself not being interested in that checklist anymore.
I see.
But I have vague concepts in mind that I know that I am interested in. For example, like dense colors, and usually in Tokyo, dense colors are brought in through like harsh light, for example, and then exposing for highlights.
Right.
So that just, then I just ended up being interested in like contrast, dense colors.
Should we go that way?
Yeah. So I mean, that's not very much of a good cue, because that's kind of everywhere and it's vague.
But that's I think a generally vague cue like that is better than something overly specific. I like that. So, and I do see that in your work, by the way. As soon as you see dense colors, it's like, well, yeah, of course.
Thanks.
You have some photos where they're really dense, and I mean that in a good way. Like you really. Like the photo of the guy sitting at the table by himself with like the yellows and the greens. Every time I look at that photo, I'm just like, man, those colors are so rich. It's such a beautiful scene.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, and I try to do that, obviously not through editing, but like looking into the world and
out there.
Seeing how the camera reacts to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And so speaking about cameras, what is the camera to you? Let me put it that way. Like, how do you think of it? What is it? Is it, well, I'm not going to fill in the blank. You tell me.
That's a great question. I wonder. Cameras,
like this.
I mean, they should enable you, I think, at a certain moment in time, and where you're at, and the kind of environment that you work in. I think you should feel comfortable with it. So, to me, like it is a tool. I usually don't end up feeling too attached to the camera, but sometimes I might end up just using like this. Like I just had it for like 3+ years now. I just happen to. I I mean, I like the camera, but I don't feel like this is my live or die.
Right.
But at the same time, it's been sitting in my pocket for 3 years, and I've been shooting a lot with it.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's like, it's a tool for the given situation. So
Yeah.
sometimes use this tool, sometimes use that tool.
Exactly. And it's like if I'm traveling, then I feel more comfortable with a zoom lens, for example, because I don't know what I'm getting into.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so it's like a 24-70 really helps.
Right. So you're trying to fit the situation with the camera. In many ways, I also think of the camera more as a toy than a tool. Because I always tell people, and I think about this myself, I choose the thing that's going to make me have the most fun. You know, and so like sometimes I use a 28mm lens, even though I know it's the wrong lens, like given a situation. But like I just like the lens.
Yeah, no, I think
use.
that's also
You
like
know?
a really good approach as well. That really gives, quote unquote, a visual signature to your work, like sticking to that one thing. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways of approaching it.
Yeah, I agree. I was just curious about your take because cameras are such a like, I don't want to say divisive.
That's true.
But you know,
Yeah.
that's maybe too strong. But like people are like in camps, you know, and I clearly do fit into camp. I used pretty much Ricoh and Nikon. That's it. But is that because I'm in the camp? I just like them because I was just saying they're fun. They're fun to use. So I was just curious what your take
That's
on it
true
is.
though. Yeah, no, they're fun. They're fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty like snobby too. So it's like I like things that are built really well.
Oh yeah, same. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be a tool that's fun to use. That's maybe the combination.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Like if I was a carpenter, I would definitely have a favorite hammer, you know, or a favorite saw or something, right? And it would be an expensive one. With like the nice, you know, whatever. Or it would be some like ancient one that has like a lot of history to it, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
Like a worn out handle, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah, I watch a lot of like craftsman YouTube. So
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I just like wasting time, you know what I mean? Procrastination, but like people like fixing stuff, building stuff. I like this kind of thing. Anyway. So actually, on the note of like, I just mentioned YouTube, that kind of makes me think, what's in your like, I like to use this term content diet, which is a little corny, but like, I try to be very selective of what I put into my brain, especially when it comes to creativity, like my photography and whatnot. So I don't want to spend a lot of time looking at work that I don't necessarily want to produce, or you know what I mean, like doesn't resonate with me.
Oh yeah.
So I try to be like, okay, I'm going to look at, you get what I'm saying. So how about you? What kind of things do you consume? Like, do you look at a lot of photo books? Do you go to galleries? Like, how do you get your ideas, inspiration, or whatever?
Like these days, for example, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say over, but I don't look at that many like, what would you say? Like I used to like follow all the street photography accounts, right?
Right, yeah,
and be
yeah.
like, oh, that one and that one's cool because, but like right now, I might not do that as much as before. I still enjoy photography books of, you know, the photographers that I love. Yeah, like same as you, like, you know, So Leiter and Harry Grier and who else? I mean, a lot of photographers, to be honest. But I try to look at work that's a little bit more curated, and also study just normal, like other art forms these days too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's been influencing my work a lot recently. I don't know if that's for the better or for the worse, but it has influenced me. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, and I like that you say that, especially the other artwork thing. And I think a lot. We're not the first to say this. A lot of photographers who are pretty experienced will tell you this, but look to other art forms.
Yeah.
Especially painting and this kind of like other visual mediums. Because media. Anyway, because if you're always just in the echo chamber of like Instagram, you end up just producing like this, like you were saying, like kind of repeating stuff, right? You end up going down the same rabbit hole over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's also like really good if you're starting out and you want to practice and you want to, you know, see what kind of style fits you the best.
Totally,
I've definitely been through that, so I'm not like, you know, I'm not degrading the whole genre of that or anything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good to look at. But
I'm just saying that like I think now I've been shooting for a while, and I need to find out what can influence me further and what I can get out of different things, and then see how I can again like the idea of again like adding value back to the community. It's like, how do I get new ideas? How do I make a composition out of that in reality through the camera? Right. That's kind of my next thing that I'm interested in.
Exactly, yeah. You want to push the boundaries in some way, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. And if you're always looking at the same stuff, it's going to be hard to push them, right?
Yeah, that was very simply put, yes.
Yeah, you want to put, well, I mean, I'm only summarizing what I just heard from you. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have thought of it right now off the cuff, but yeah. I love the light in here. What do you think? This is pretty cool.
This
Pretty
place
cool
is
scene.
interesting,
Yeah.
especially during midday, right? Yeah.
Just pause. I know there's like kind of a crowd down here right now, but sometimes I shoot like a totally bad photo that I know is not going to be good, but just because I like the light or something.
yeah, sure,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it's just kind of like it's just a crowd of people down here, but and I don't want to wait for until there's like nobody because that'll probably never happen. We can keep going. I just wanted to just capture it. But on that note, so I was going to ask you, when you do have a photo that you feel like, okay, that is great, whether you saw it in the moment or you decided, next week when you were looking at it, the point is, what are some criteria for you in your photos that you're just like, if it has that, and I'm, by the way, I'm assuming you're not going to say, oh, it has nice geometry or something. That's part of it. It's going to be something more like a je ne sais quoi, right? What are, I don't know. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Yeah.
But what are those qualities? They could be anything. Could be something concrete, could be something abstract. But what makes a good photo for you?
Oh,
and your photo specifically, not other people's photos.
Yeah,
like when you took a photo, what makes it good?
That's such a hard question.
I lay it out there. Hard questions.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, if we're just talking about elements, you're right. It's like I do look at colors and geometry a lot.
Yeah, okay,
but
yeah,
in terms of something a little bit more abstract, I do think of like the mood that the photo may convey. I think overall, I have a tendency to like photos that have more of an ambiguous tone to them. Ambiguous and kind of dark sometimes.
Okay, yeah. Dark in terms of the feeling.
The feeling,
right?
Yeah.
I generally, by the way, I immediately, as soon as you said mood, I 100% agree, because that would have been my answer. Like, I've thought about this a lot, and I used to also think that it's the more, like, concrete things, like, oh, a good photo has to have good timing and good composition, all that stuff, but I realized that's not really the most important thing. It has to evoke a feeling, it has to come from a feeling, meaning I shot it with feeling, some kind of emotion in mind, and then it ideally it succeeds if it evokes that feeling in me, and then of course in somebody else. Right. And so and then often it is kind of a darker mood because I feel like those are a little more impactful, right? Kind of what you're saying. And then when I think about my best photos, they're all a little moody, and they're a little bit like, I often use the hashtag like neo noir or Tokyo noir, right, or something like that, because I feel like there's a noir element to it, which is often noir stories like detectives, right, like actual classic noir stories, tend to be pretty dark, right? They don't usually have happy endings and whatnot. So I don't think I'm that dark in it, but I think there is a darkness to it.
I agree. Yeah, and then I guess the second
this is
one
all really cool. Yeah.
And the second one would be like going back to like the ideas thing. Like if it's something that feels visually new to me, then that's like kind of the cherry on top. Right. And that can mean
so kind of surprising, or
it's like, oh, I've never seen that. Right. Or for me, if it has like a repeat, like a value that it's a repeatable thing visually, where you can go back to a photo and then notice new things. That's also something that I cherish a lot.
Okay, so if you look at the same photo, but I get it. Because you said repeatable. Because I use that word as a negative, but in a different context.
Like if there's repeatability.
Yeah, if I can just go back and shoot it again and again and again. Right, for you, it's like, you're saying that like if you look at it again, you'd see something fresh.
Exactly.
Right?
So from the viewer's standpoint.
Right. It stays fresh. Right. Which I like. I agree with that. It's just interesting because for me, the first thing I think of when I think of repeatability is like if I can go back to the spot and shoot the same photo like next Tuesday.
That's not good.
That's not good. It's not that it's automatically terrible. It's just that that lowers it a little bit.
Yeah.
The photos that are unrepeatable, that I know I will never get that again in a million years, those are the ones that are more special for me. That's a part of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Are you waiting for like a reflection here? Is that what you're thinking? Like somebody in the window here?
Maybe. Yeah. I kind of like how these two parts intersect, and it has this is the only place that has like a highlight. Right. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, take your time, shoot it. Let's shoot something. We don't gotta keep chit-chatting while we're shooting. We can kind of mix it up. I like that too, I agree with you there. Well, here, I'll stay on your off-hand side so I'm not in the reflection. And so like this man in the truck here.
It's kind of cool too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like these dirty windows.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Last question.
Yep.
Last question. What's next for you, like for photography? Like what? Or it's okay if you don't have a goal, but like, like if you're here today, you've shot all these things you've shot, you've created all the things you've created, you've done what you've done. So like, why? What's next? Why move forward? What are you venturing into?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In your career or like creative pursuits.
Yeah, I have a few goals. One is I definitely want a really, really good book. It can just be one, but I want one good book, and that's something that I've been trying to. And that's also like an ambiguous goal too, because the thing is like, if I just wanted to put something out, you know, I could obviously self-fund it. I can just make a zine. I could, you know, do one of those like pay-to-win publisher stuff. Right. Right. But I want like a good book that it can even be out of pocket, but like I just want something like a good product. And then again, good is subjective.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question then, to challenge you there. Like, how do you know when it's done then? Because you know, like what I learned recently is like it's good to have somebody giving you a deadline. Yeah. If you don't have it, if you're just making it yourself, and you know what I mean, you're always like, well, I could go out and shoot a few more photos, and like they're always adding stuff and kind of rejiggering it. So how are you gonna do that?
Yeah, my first milestone is 10 years. So ever since I've been shooting really seriously, it's been close to 8 or so now.
Okay, so when you hit 10 years, that's the cutoff.
When I
like
hit 10 years,
photos.
like for me, kind of the candid street stuff, I want to say, okay, let's just stop until here for now.
Right.
And then see what I can do with that work. So I have a small milestone there, which is kind of binded by my own time in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to have.
Yeah. And obviously I'm pretty traditional, so having like a good exhibition is also a goal. But I want to have sometime in my life an exhibition that is not just about like posting the photos in a frame.
Right. It's not just like a look at me, look at my work. There's something more to it a little bit.
There's something that I want to do that I don't know if I can ever do it because it'll cost some money, but I want to do more of like a participatory exhibition. You know how like, you know those like light shows in Japan? What was that? Like Team Lab.
A Team Lab, yeah.
You know, what I love about that, but also a lot of more like contemporary artists too these days, is
I know
that
what you mean. You go there and you're kind of interacting with it a little bit.
You're interacting, but I think the trick there is that people want to take interesting photos. And that whole setting automatically gives you a ticket to take interesting photos and post it on social media. Well, what I want to try to do is, for example, like, let's say I have like one of my photos, and then if there's a way that like through lighting, I can somehow like replicate that in the exhibit, and then if there's a way to like the participants can like time
like
their shots,
other participants, for example.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting because like last time I've seen like all of Lighter shows in Tokyo, and the last one, did you see it? It was in the Hikari.
So good.
So good, right?
That was so
Remember
good.
the room with the giant projectors?
Dude, I could just sleep there.
Yeah, dude, I was in there for an hour.
So
oh my
awesome.
god!
Yeah.
So the thing is, I did a lot of street photos in there.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
such a good.
because
the colors are so
on the
nice.
ground.
Oh yes.
There you go. So that's kind of what you have in mind, something kind of like that, where the gallery itself creates kind of an environment for street photography, or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I like that. That's a great idea.
Like I think reflections is also a great one. Like having like a layer of mirrors, for example, and then people can like have some fun shooting in different scenarios, and then they can enjoy the outcome that they get out of it. Yeah, that's something that I want to do sometime in the future, and then because I'm also interested in more like contemporary art as well, and then see how I can fuse that with photography is one very long-term goal.
I see.
That I have.
Yeah, no, I see. I get it. And so I see how that would definitely be more involved and like a little more cost than what you're saying. Like it's not just printing your photos and putting them on the wall. Right?
Yeah, there's some construction to do.
Yeah. All right, guys. So there you have it. We had a little nice walk and talk with Ulysses here. I loved a lot of your answers to my questions. Thank you. That was a very interesting conversation. And of course, please check out his work on your Instagram and your website. and your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. You're such a great interviewer, and then I was overwhelmed by how professional this was. So that was wonderful, man. Thank you so much.
It was not professional, but I will accept that the interview went well. I prepared.
Yeah, well, thanks,
I thought
man.
of
That was
some good
great.
questions.
That was wonderful.
All right. So thank you so much, and we'll probably have you back on the channel for sure at some
Definitely.
point. We'll shoot some other area.
Thanks,
All right?
man. Thanks for
Thanks,
having
man.
me.
That was All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And remember, challenge your eye. Oh, you're still here. Well, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That really helps us out, with the algorithm. But since you're here, I want to remind you guys the different ways you can support this channel. The best one being coming to Tokyo or Kyoto and taking a workshop with us, or me or one of the other guys on the team. That's a huge help. Of course, we have some other things that we offer. For example, you can purchase a map of Tokyo photo spots. Currently, there are over 500 locations on the map, useful for planning your trip in Tokyo or exploring the city. Also, I do have a book out called Tokyo Unseen, so please check that out. And I do sell prints, so if you'd like one of my photos as a print, check that out as well. But last but not least, there is Patreon. Those of you who support us on Patreon, we're extremely grateful, and anybody who's thinking about it, we'd really appreciate that. That is another way to get access to the photo spot map. All right. And last little tiny thing, there are referral links to all the gear and stuff that we use in the videos, so just clicking on those links helps us out as well. And of course, all the other things I mentioned are also linked in the description. All right. So thank you guys so much for watching to the end, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.